support requiring all service providers to submit detailed invoices describing work performed to the village?
Absolutely.
So that we have a record.
Absolutely.
Great.
I would think that's the normal standard operating procedure.
It's not.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm married to a contractor. It needs to be an itemized bill, yes.
Debbie?
I'm a business owner. I insist on it. If I get a bill saying, 4 jars of cream, I need to know what jars they were, how many ounces they were, what I paid last. Of course, big time. Oh, I could cite some examples that have really pissed me off in the past, but I won't.
Basically, we should take it out of the budget.
I won't do it. I'm biting my tongue.
All right, well, here's a setup question. Do you believe trustees are elected to make decisions without input from the community? And if yes, what kind of decisions do require?
Wow. I want to know who submitted that question.
Then, so this is what was sent in. Do you believe trustees are elected to make decisions without input from the community? If yes, what kind of decisions would require input?
Yes, this is my question.
We're gonna start.
It's all, I wouldn't dare consider making a decision without knowing what the community knows. It's a yes or no?
No.
No. I wouldn't have even have thought to not ask my fellow villagers. I have no your feelings are my feelings.
No.
No.
It's not if yes, it's just no.
Wow.
I have to be honest, I think there may be some times that a board member may have to make a decision without input from the community. I don't think that's ideal, and it would go against my grain to do that, but I honestly think that it may have to happen sometimes. I'm just trying not to be ignorant here. In case of an emergency, you can't always ask everybody what their opinion is.
So an emergency.
In emergency.
Might be a type of decision.
Yes, ideally, the answer is no. But in reality, I think it probably has to happen time and again, here and there.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, let's start with you. Women, will you support sealed ballot voting by residents if the village is going to begin a costly project, such as the remake of a park, the remodeling of Village Hall, the annexing of a private road? Do you support allowing certain that's the next question, sorry, that's it.
Well, regardless of whether or not the project is costly, I do support a private ballot. Was that the wording?
Yes.
Was that
Yes,
sealed?
sealed,
yeah.
yeah, a confidential ballot.
As long as it's done legitimately, absolutely. I think that's very important. Not necessarily to have it private, but to get everyone's opinion, it's definitely necessary. And to be honest with you, I haven't thought much about this, but my initial instinct is to say that to me it doesn't matter whether or not it's sealed or not. Meaning, like, the people's identities are not disclosed.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. John, would you support a sealed or private ballot voting if the village is going to begin a costly project?
A sealed ballot, I'm still as far as if we're voting on something that's going to be going through and it's going to be costing, it's
So
going to be unanimous, is it going to be anonymous, is that your question?
So the intent is to get confidential information from the community without them having to disclose who voted which way, if the village is considering beginning something that's going to.
Okay, yeah, so if it should be sealed, if it's going to give somebody the satisfaction of knowing that it's going to be an anonymous decision, yeah, I don't see why not. I think it should be. I don't think it doesn't matter where the vote comes from, who you are. It's just that the fact that you're voting. And, you know, if that's, yeah, I'm for it.
Okay, Debbie, are you?
What do you guys think?
Of course.
If you want it, of course. If you don't, you don't. I want to know what you think. I want to make it as easy as possible for the board to be informed as to what Poquott residents think. And that's all I really want. And I've done a lot of research. I know how local business, you know, I'm ready. I am more than ready for this. I just want to be helpful. I want to be your voice. I want to hear you. And if you tell me you want something secretive or anonymous, then that's what we'll do. If not, then we'll bring it to the board and we'll discuss it that way. I think people should be able to say whatever they want for no fear, like the First Amendment, with no fear of any repercussion at all. People should have the freedom to say whatever they want without being afraid to say it.
Thank you.
Very important.
John, let's start with you. Do you agree that our code is so outdated that they all need review and revision?
Not the whole thing. I'm sure there's some things that need to be gone through to be updated, but everything's open to interpretation, as we can tell. We've seen in the past couple of years. You know, things have changed since it was probably written. But there's nothing wrong with voting on that. Let's see what the village thinks on that. I mean, not the board themselves. You know, I'm sure that things are gonna come up and say, well, this was written back in such and such a time, and all needs to be reviewed. Does it really apply to the way that we live our lives now? You know, I think everything's open to be reviewed. Yeah, not the whole thing. There's always like to scrap and start all over again. There's no sense reinventing the wheel, but maybe something can be revised. I'm open to what people want. If everyone's against one thing, okay, well, that's fine. Well, yeah, that doesn't really apply to what we do or how we live our lives now. So, yeah.
Great. Debbie, same question for you. Do you agree that our codes are so outdated that they all need review and revision?
That's a really good question. I think all is the operative word there. All, not all, but I think a good deal of them are outdated, but certainly not all of them. A good analogy for me would be the Constitution, you know, amendments and, you know, times change, things change, technology changes, people's views change, the world changes. So I think there need to be some changes, but it's not all. Well, thanks for that question. That's a good question. That was a good question.
I don't remember who submitted it.
That was a really good question, I thought.
Angie, your perspective, do you agree our codes are so outdated that they all need review and revision?
I agree that they need review constantly. You know, this is our code. This is what the village is run by. It's like our constitution. So yes, I think it should be reviewed. And as far as revised, I'm sure parts of it do need to be revised. Again, I'll refer back to when we spoke about the code earlier. I haven't read it in its entirety. However, I'm willing to do so. So we'll see.
All right, we'll start again with you. Do you believe it's okay to use line items in the budget for things other than they were intended? For example, using snow plowing monies for tree removal.
I mean, I always, when I hear a question like this, I think devil's advocate. I think when would that be necessary? Trying to figure out, because I'm sure there is a time somewhere, some time where that would be useful, but as a general blanket rule, my instinct is to say no. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Sure. Do you believe it's okay to use line items in the budget for things other than they were intended? So the example is using budget that was intended for snow plowing in order to do tree removal.
Do I think it's all right to do that? As a general rule, no, I don't. But I think it would not benefit us to say that that cannot ever be done. There may be times when we need to. I'm sorry, that's not a real answer, but in reality, things aren't black and white. So that's my answer.
Okay, great. John, do you believe it's okay to use line items in the
No.
budget?
I don't. I think that a properly managed budget will be ready to encounter emergencies that needs to. So if it's meant for this, if it's meant for a specific thing, that's what it's used for. Yeah, like Angie said, things do come up, but I think that there should be contingency plans before you start using other money that it's intended for something else.
Great. And Debbie, do you believe it's okay to use line items in the budget for things other than they were intended?
No.
All right, starting with Debbie. How would you respond if residents threatened to sue the village to resolve a problem?
It's a tough one.
So residents who
How would you respond if a resident threatens to sue the village to resolve a problem?
How would I respond? I have to think about that. I'd have to consult with the villagers. I'd have to find out more information about what that particular thing was, I suppose. I would need more information. I'm sorry. That's one thing I need more. I'm good with a lot of other stuff, but that I would seek more information. I would need to.
Okay, great. Angie?
I would speak to the person. That would be first and foremost. You sit down and have a conversation eye to eye with the person and see what their issue is, because maybe it's something that just was miscommunication. That would be the first step. Just talk, find out why they feel so threatened and so upset that they need to hire an attorney and sue the village. That would be it, to just try to communicate and talk it out first.
Great. And John?
I think the lawsuit is in hand. Something's gone way too far. Either someone hasn't been heard or something's been overlooked. There's two sides to every story. We do have a code for a reason. I mean, it almost comes right into play with, like, should our code be updated? Well, if there's someone that wants something done and maybe they're just stamping their feet, well, it's kind of like we have to listen to reason. I mean, if things are well documented that the village went out of their way, above and beyond out of their way, to rectify the problem. But if you're gonna go to a lawsuit, I mean, you can't avoid that. Someone's gonna do what they wanna do. Some people have the money to do it, and they don't care. They have attorneys at beck and call, which is great. I personally don't have it. I mean, it's, going through own legal things, lawyer attorneys always said, listen, the only person that's gonna benefit in this is us, not either one of you, which is true. So I think if it gets to a lawsuit, it's going way too far. Like I just said, if you talk it out, do whatever you gotta do, document everything, that the village has done everything it possibly can within its code, we go from there.
Great, thank you. So John, New York State has open meeting laws for governmental entities. How do you think the village can better conform with the letter and spirit of the law?
I think it's a great idea. As far as meaning, everyone in the state seeing how we run our operation? Is that what you're,
There are open meeting laws,
Okay.
meetings have to be opened, you have to be allowed to record them, you have
Absolutely,
to be
why
allowed
not?
to do.
We have nothing to hide.
Right.
I have nothing to hide. I don't think the village has anything to hide. I mean, we're here for a meeting for the village. I don't see any problem with that. I encourage it. Is that fair? Excuse me.
Debbie, same question. New York State has open meeting laws. How do you think the village can better conform with the letter and spirit of the law?
I didn't answer that part, sorry. Okay.
You did.
Okay.
You want to say something more?
Nope, I'm okay.
Transparency. I mean, it's all about that. If here's going to be a hippie statement. If people are honest and tell the truth, life is easy, and governing villages becomes so much easier. Because there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to make up, There's nothing to say, oh, what did I say to this person? What did I say? Transparency and truth. And that's what it's about. So I'm so for that. Yeah.
Great. Angie, same question. New York State has open meeting laws for governmental entities. How do you think the village can better conform with the letter and spirit of the law?
I think the village could definitely improve on conforming to the spirit of that law. I, too, have experienced feeling not heard at meetings. It's very frustrating. It's happened to me multiple times over the past 4 or 5 years. People, if they're going to show up at a meeting and they're going to get the nerve to stand up and walk to the front of the room, stand in front of everybody, it's obvious that they want to be heard. And so I think a conversation, some feedback to resident statements at the meetings would just be number one step. Also, it would be nice for people to be able to have a say at the meetings with not necessarily having to stand up, like not maybe a suggestion box, but comment box. Maybe, you know, it could be even limited to 4 or 5 comments out of the box in a night for people who don't feel they can stand up and speak for themselves or say what they want to say or can't make it to the meeting. So I think those are just a few things that could help with the open the meetings.
Great, thank you. Assuming you are elected, how do you plan to get the appropriate training to fulfill your new role?
I would ask the current board what I should do. That would be the number one thing. Say, what am I required to know? Please tell me, and I'll do it. That's it.
Okay, great. John, if you're elected, how would you get the appropriate training?
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could ask the current board. I would also ask past trustees, find out what they did. You can go back on that route.
When are we going to hear some questions from the people who have come to this meeting?
We solicited questions by email, and when I get through those questions,
How long is
there's
that going to
time.
be, is my question.
I don't know. I
You
have
don't
a
know, how
number.
many pages do you have?
I have-
You keep going on and on and on and on. I want to hear the questions of these people.
These people had asked these questions.
I want
from
to
the people
hear
in
the
this room.
questions of these people, not the people you have written down on your list,
Just continue.
Some of us did submit the questions that were asked, so a lot of us are getting our questions asked because we submitted them through the email.
No, then, I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
And the format of the meeting was communicated. And we'll get through these questions because it's not fair to the people who did submit them by email to not
Well,
answer
you know,
them
not
first.
everybody is on email.
Okay.
So I said, you know, I guess the current members, I'd say probably past trustees. I'm sure there's other villages out there that you can reach out to. Find out who they are. There's no way of, I think it's a bad idea to adopt new open communication with other villages and see how, you know, they go about doing things. You know, we're a small place and sometimes some bigger villages have some good ideas that can be incorporated. And I'm sure you can never stop learning.
Great. And Debbie, how would you get the appropriate training?
Well, I'd have to call Mayor Dahl of Northport, sorry, and the Northport Board of Trustees, Pete Panarides, my mom. They have a slamming board. They get stuff done. I can't even, every week they're doing something else. It's unbelievable what they get done. And I ask them how they do it. I grew up in Northport. I've seen so much done from sidewalks. Now they're building an inn. It's just amazing what goes on. And they do it by reaching across the aisle, you know? There's a solution to everything. We can all get along. I don't care who believes in what or politically. There's a solution to everything. It's like, what was the question?
How do you plan to get the appropriate training to fulfill your new role?
Oh, I asked the people that I would admire on other boards around the island, for sure, and I know a few other people too. And I've made it my business to know, and I would, I really enjoyed, Trustee Hopkins, yeah, he was terrific. Oldfield, but I grew up in Northport and I know all those people and I know how they run the village, how efficiently it's run, how they budget things, how they get grants, and to tell you the truth, that's how I would learn. I go straight to call Mayor Dahl, say, Mayor Dahl, this is, and that's what I would do.